Happy Wednesday. It's time for another Family Night Craft brought to you by the Northeast Branch of Reading Public Library. This week we are making confetti or glitter-filled bookmarks. They're super easy and fast, and make sure you pick up a go pack at the Northeast Branch of Reading Public Library on 11th and Pike Street to have pretty much all the supplies you'll need for this craft. So without further ado, let's get into how to make this week's craft. Pretty much everything you'll need for this craft will be included in the go pack you can pick up at the Northeast Branch Library. The only two things not in the pack that you'll need are a pair of scissors and some sort of writing implement you can use to trace a pattern on a piece of paper. In your bag will be some decorative paper. Of course, you can use any paper you have at home if you'd like to use that. You'll need confetti or glitter, which will be provided in your bag. Some clear contact paper. Basically, you'll be peeling off one side, which will be sticky. And we have our two templates. So we have the backing piece and the front piece. So the first step we want to do is trace out our two pattern pieces on the paper, and then we're going to cut out our shapes. So just lay one on top, trace, lay the other on top, trace, and then cut them both out. I actually realized after tracing my first piece that it's better to flip it over if it's a pattern paper and draw on the white side, because we want those marks, any stray sort of markings, not to show up on our final picture. So I'm going to trace the other piece on the back here. Once they've been traced, it's time to cut them out. Now, when I'm cutting, I want to point out that we're going to cut out the centerpiece, but you should cut it in a way that you can save that centerpiece for later. We're going to use that in our bookmark. So I'd recommend to cut out the center, sort of fold it along one of the lines and make a snip there so you can cut it out nice and neatly. It's okay if it makes a small little rip. You can always fix that with tape or glue. As you can see, when I traced on the back, I accidentally left a little strip of white, but never fear. This is actually going to go on top, and that'll cover that right up. So let me zoom in so I can show you what happens next. What we're going to do now is either take a thin strip of contact paper if you don't have glue, but otherwise take a glue stick. We're going to see where that frame sits on top of our other traced piece of our bookmark. So that way we can put glue on the back of our strip, our middle strip we have left, and put it right in the middle of that. The important thing, so I did that wrong here, is we want to have the white side. So basically we're making sure that this has this in the middle, so it looks all one color. So this is actually optional. If you'd rather have the back white of the other paper shine through, then skip this step. But I want this whole thing to look like a starry sky, and I don't have enough paper to do it double-sided. So I'm just going to take this filler piece and I'm going to glue it right in there. So I cover the one side with glue, and then I'm going to stick it in the middle of the frame. But we want to remember we don't glue down the frame yet, just this middle piece. And we're gluing it to the white side of our other paper. Press along, and then we're going to make sure we take off this frame, and you can see right here that it's basically just going to look now like a white border around that paper, and it's all one color on the back. All right, so time for the next step. What we're doing in this next step is we are going to trace our bookmark. I'm actually just going to use the original hard strip because I think it's easy to trace, and you're going to trace that on your contact paper. Might be a little tricky if this wants to roll, but you can just hold it down with scissors or something while you're tracing. Okay, so once I have that shape traced, I'm going to cut it out of the contact paper. And this is optional, but what I'm going to actually do is cut inside the lines of the tracing marks. So instead of outside the line, I want to cut a little bit inside because I want this to be a little smaller than my bookmark because I don't want it to stick on the edges. And that'll make sense in just a second. So let's see what it looks like here. Have our frame piece, I'm flipping it so the white side is up. All right, so you can see that this is going to not cover all the edges. So, the next step, don't mean to make this too complicated. We are going to flip this. Basically, we're going to make a sandwich out of our frame. It's going to be a bottom sheet of contact paper with the sticky side up, our frame, and then this clear stuff with a sticky side down. So you have to be careful because this will stick to everything. First, I'm going to take the sticky backing. Well, I'm going to make it sticky by taking this matte backing off. So be careful, go nice and slow when you're peeling so it doesn't roll up. All right, so then you can stick this anywhere. We're going to cut off the extra later. I'm gonna stick it right down here. Now put it down slowly so it doesn't curl or bunch up, and then just slide your finger over to make it smooth. So now we're going to peel this off and put a sticky side down. So basically what we're doing is we're going to make it so this middle part is not sticky. So the reason we're doing that is because we are going to fill our bookmark with confetti or glitter and we want it to be able to move around. So that means we got to make sure this is not sticky in the inside. Okay, so I've peeled it off slowly and now we're going to slowly apply it. We're not in a rush, just take your time, it'll be fine. And slowly smooth it out. Awesome. Okay, so we've got one side down now. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to put a little bit of glue. This is totally optional, but I just want to make sure it's nice and secure. So if I look, it looks like this is a little smaller. So I think that the frame should go like this. So I'm going to take a little bit of glue and put it on 3 sides of the frame. 3 sides only. So remember, you've got to keep one side open because that is where we're going to pour in our confetti. Okay, so I've just put a little glue there so it'll be extra sturdy and sticking together. And I'm just going to lay it right on top, trying to match the sides as best as I can. So this is the time that if you want to add anything to the back, you want to add it on now because you're not going to be able to draw on this later. Okay, so we've got both sides. Now the next thing we want to do is take another sheet of contact paper. And I'm just going to trim it so it's a little more appropriately sized. And this one we're going to lay sticky side down. But there's a very important caveat. We don't want to be sealing this top. So what I'm actually going to do, and be careful about your scissors here, but I am going to cut across beforehand because I don't want to risk sealing up the top of my bookmark. Actually, I'm gonna cut that one ugly part right off. Yes. Check the fronts to make sure it still looks okay. Looks good so far. So I'm going to peel off this backing. Nice and slow, just like before. It's not a race. And then we're slowly going to, actually, I'm gonna put the non-sticky part on the table because I think this will be a little easier to control. Yeah, so I have sticky side up, this is sticky side up. So I'm just going to put this down on there and match this up as best I can. Because I think that'll be easier to keep the top open. Okay. So maybe it's hard to see, but I'll try to show you. So these are all sealed. They've got sticky parts facing each other, but there's no sticky stuff on the top here, so we can put our finger in this pouch. You can see it here. So I'm going to take my star sequins and I'm going to pour them through that small opening. So it will go inside of my bookmark. So you want to be careful. I'm just going to fold back the sticky part and sort of pop open the center to try to make it easier to pour these in here. Like so. Come on. All right. If you are dumb like me, maybe you got some sequins stuck in the sides, but you can just stick a pair of scissors in to help push them back inside of the pouch. Shouldn't be too hard. And once you have them all in, it's time to seal her up. Okay, so once you've finally gotten all of your stars in one place, you're going to, well, I'm gonna trim this little first because I don't want it to go over the clear part and make it sort of murky. So I'm trimming some of the extra sticky stuff, fold it, put it to the side, and then we're folding over this top part here so that we can seal up our bookmark. And now we're going to trim it. So make sure that you're leaving some space in the side because that will make sure it's actually sealed, whereas if you cut right on it, it won't seal. All right, so once it's all sealed up, your bookmark is complete. If you want to add a tassel, you can just add a little extra plastic at the top, a little extra contact paper folded against each other, hole punch through there and tie a tassel through there. But I hope you like this craft and I hope to see you next Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. for another family night craft. Bye friends.